Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayan Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtapraye Sarvatrechu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita by Srila Goswami, Volume 3, only he could lead them, San Francisco, India, 1967. Chapter 25th, our master has not finished his work. So Prabhupada was moved from the hospital in New York to this house in New Jersey at the beach, so he could recuperate, and all the devotees are taking turn to be with him, serving him, just be with him. After staying with Prabhupada for 2 days, Srila and Jadurani, the devotees visiting from New York, had to return to their duties. Although Prabhupada had been resting, he awoke just as they were about to depart. So they came into this room. In a faint voice, Prabhupada spoke a few words from his bed. Then he sat up and Gaurasundar began to massage him. People who think God is dead are crazy, Prabhupada said, although no one had introduced the subject. For Prabhupada, preaching about Krishna was always apropos. His voice picked up volume as he denounced the atheists. Just like if I go to the doctor, if he checks my heart and it is beating well, and if he checks my blood pressure and it's going on, and my breathing is there, after observing all these symptoms of life, if I ask him, so doctor, what's the condition? If the doctor says, my dear sir, you're dead, is this not a crazy diagnosis? Gaurasundar still massaging, glanced wide-eyed at the others. Prabhupada was now speaking in a loud, forceful voice, as if addressing a large audience instead of a few visitors in a sick room. Similarly, just see the signs of life in this universe. The sun is rising just on time. The planets are all moving in their orbits. There are so many signs of life. And the universe is God's body. And yet, they are seeing all these symptoms and declaring God is dead. Is it not foolishness? They are rascals. I challenge them. Simply rascals. A few soft words had become half an hour of strong, emphatic speech meant to move the audience against all kinds of atheistic theorists. Although Kirtananda had at first cautioned Swamiji, reminding him about his health, Swamiji had dismissed the caution by saying, that's all right. But now he was exhausted and had to lie back down. The devotees had just seen Swamiji immediately use up whatever energy he had gained from his afternoon's rest. Although they admired how he was using everything for Krishna, they were also fearful. But they were helpless to restrain. They were even implicated. They wanted to hear him. When Sasrup and Jadurani returned to New York, Brahmananda had them tell the others about Swamiji. Sasrup told how he had slept in the room with Swamiji and they had felt that this nearness to Swamiji was very auspicious. He had felt light and peaceful and close to Krishna all night. Sasrup and Jadurani told about sitting on the beach with Swamiji and is talking about everything, being conscious in Krishna Loka. And they told how Swamiji had sat up in the bed and had used his energy preaching, showing them that they should also use everything in the service of Krishna. Brahmananda beamed at the other devotee. Just look, by your talking about Swamiji, everyone is feeling blissful. Prabhupada stayed in Long Beach for 3 weeks, but when Shri Krishna Pandit wrote saying that he couldn't arrange for an Ayurvedic doctor to come to America, Prabhupada began to think more seriously about going back to India. In India, he could get sunshine and Ayurvedic treatment, but his plans would vary from one day to another. San Francisco, Montreal, India, New York. He told Kirtananda to inform the devotees in San Francisco that if they held a Rath Yatra festival, he would come. At the end of June, he returned to 26 Second Avenue and to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor was surprised at Swamiji's recovery and had no objection to his flying to San Francisco. So, in search of sunny skies and eager to guide his followers in performing the first Rath Yatra, Prabhupada had airline tickets booked for himself and Kirtananda to San Francisco, New Jagannath Puri. So, thus ends chapter 25th. We can start chapter 26th. Swamiji's departure. At the San Francisco airport, Prabhupada smiled but said little as the devotees greeted him with flowers and kirtan. It was different this time. He walked straight ahead with the aid of a cane. Jayananda was waiting with his station wagon to drive Prabhupada to the private house they had rented north of the city at Stinson Beach. But first, Prabhupada said he wanted to visit the San Francisco Radhakrishna temple. Jayananda drove to 518 Frederick Street. Prabhupada got out of the car and entered the small storefront, which was filled with waiting devotees and guests. He bowed before the smiling Jagannath deities and without speaking a word, left the room, returned to the car and departed for Stinson Beach. The ride up through the seaside cliffs was so winding and climbing that Prabhupada became nauseated. And even lying down in the back seat and having Jayananda drive slower didn't help much. Kirtananda realized that it would be too difficult for Prabhupada to visit the San Francisco temple from Stinson Beach, but maybe that would be just as well, where he could spend all of his time recuperating. It was a modern single-story, 6-bedroom house with Japanese roof. A sign out front read Paradiso. Srila Prabhupada noticed in the front yard, amidst fashionable lawn furniture, a statue of Lord Buddha, a garden ornament. When Prabhupada entered the house, he found Mukunda and his wife Janki waiting for him. They bowed down and Janki wept in happiness. Prabhupada smiled but kept walking slowly and silently through the house. The large living room overlooking the Pacific Ocean was decorated with some of Jadurani's paintings of Lord Vishnu, Radha and Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, as well as with Indian prints of Jagannath Puri. Prabhupada's bedroom, also facing the ocean, had sliding windows. On the wall was a portrait of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and a painting of Radha and Krishna. Prabhupada smiled and said the paintings were very nice. The devotees agreed that only Kirtananda and Upendra would stay and serve Swamiji. They wanted Swamiji's stay to be peaceful so that his health could improve. That night, Srila Prabhupada felt pain in his heart and couldn't sleep, and he didn't rise early for translating. At 5 a.m., Kirtananda came in and opened the window slightly so that Prabhupada could receive the soft ocean breeze. Prabhupada sat up in his bed, chanting his japa and gazing at the feet of Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani. A mountain range to the east blocked the morning sun. Ever since Prabhupada's stroke, Kirtananda had been regularly massaging Prabhupada's morning and evening. Kirtananda would rub Prabhupada's head vigorously and then sit behind him, massage his back. Next, he would massage Prabhupada's chest, his arms and his legs, the complete massage lasting sometimes more than an hour. Since leaving the hospital, Prabhupada had also been taking daily morning walks, even while on the Lower East Side. And this morning, he went down for a walk on the beach, accompanied by Kirtananda and Upendra. As Prabhupada walked on the beach, he pointed his cane towards some bubbles in the sand. Just see, he said, there are living entities everywhere. There is no place without living entities. And yet they say there is no life on the moon. The beach was rocky and there were cliffs where the waves crashed powerfully like thunder. You hear this sound, Prabhupada said. This is an echo of gopis' heartbeats when they are feeling separation from Krishna. So waves crashing powerfully like thunder on some rocks. And Prabhupada said, this is an echo of the gopis' heartbeats when they're feeling separation from Krishna. He walked for an hour until his 2 young servants were both tired. Do I tire you walking? He laughed. This walking and massaging are saving my life from day to day. Then he continued walking. By 11 o'clock, the sun finally appeared over the mountains and through the clouds. Srila Prabhupada, his head wrapped with a towel, sat in a folding chair on the beach. taking in the sunshine. He kept saying he needed more sun. After lunch, the sky was again overcast. See, sun really helps in, in keeping the body healthy. But these days, our problem is everybody is working inside in air-conditioned rooms. We don't get enough sun. Even in India, we don't get. In the evening, Prabhupada called Kirtan and ran Upendra into the large living room and led them in a subdued Kirtan, singing Hare Krishna and Govinda Jaya Jaya. He stood and led them in a large circle around the room. He would stop before the picture of Krishna, bow slightly with folded palms, turn around and then continue in the circle. On July 8th, after Prabhupada had been at Paradiso for 2 days, Shamsundar and Mukunda drove up from San Francisco. The next day was to be Rath Yatra, and Shamsundar and Mukunda, the first devotees to visit Prabhupada since his arrival at Stinson Beach, told Prabhupada all about the festival preparations. Of course, the whole festival had been Prabhupada's idea, but the devotees in San Francisco were trying to do exactly as he had asked. Srila Prabhupada had first gotten the idea for the festival while looking out the window of his room above Frederick Street. Noticing flatbed trucks passing below, he thought of putting Jagannath deities on the back of such a truck and conducting an American-style Rath Yatra festival. He had even sketched a truck with 4-pillared canopy on the back and decorated with flags, bells, and flower garlands. And he had called in Shamsundar, "Make me this cart for Rath Yatra." Now, ready and sitting outside the temple on Frederick Street was a cart, a yellow Hertz rental truck, compliments of the diggers and complete with 5-foot columns and a pyramidal cloth canopy. Sitting with Prabhupada on the beach, Mukunda told how all the devotees were working with great enthusiasm and how the hippies in Haight-Ashbury were talking about the Jagannath parade that would take place the next day. The devotees had tried to route the parade through Golden Gate Park, but the police department would only give permission for them to go south down Frederick Street to the sea. Mukunda said the devotees planned to have Jagannath under the canopy facing the right side of the truck, Subhadra facing the rear, and Balram facing the left side. He wanted to know if it was all right. Actually, Prabhupada said the deities should ride in separate carts, pulled with ropes, by the crowd through the streets. Maybe that could happen in future years. So this Rath was very different. Devotees didn't know and didn't have much facilities. So it was like a cube Rath with the pillars and the canopy. So Jagannathji facing on one side, Balramji facing on another side, and Subhadra facing the back of the truck, or towards the back, towards the devotees who would be in the back. Do it nicely, he cautioned them, and don't hurry it up. The devotees should drive the truck slowly through the streets down to the beach, and there should be constant kirtan. Mukunda and Shamsundar glorified Jayanand. He drove all around San Francisco, getting donations of fruits and flowers, found people to help decorate the cart, installed the sound system on the truck, and distributed posters in the stores. He was tireless, and his enthusiasm was inspiring everyone else to take part. The women had been cooking chapatis all day, so there should be thousands to give away to the crowd. The devotees had prepared hundreds of Hare Krishna Rath Yatra festival balloons to release on the streets as the parade began. So they were doing whatever they could. Now, speaking of, because this wonderful devotee, Jayanand Prabhu, his name will come again and again. Jayanand Prabhu, he joined in San Francisco. He was a mechanical engineer by profession. He wasn't a hippie. But when he joined, he just left, and he would do every service possible in the temple. Everything. And for Rath Yatra, Not for this Rath Yatra, San Francisco, but I think in New York, first Rath Yatra, he prepared the whole cart by himself, working by his own. He prepared the whole thing, working day and night. And whenever he would get time, he would drive a taxi. And whatever money that would come from taxi, he would give it to the temple. He did so much service that building up the cart, that Prabhupada gave an open instruction to everybody in ISKCON. And actually, not everywhere we follow this, and that is against Prabhupada's instructions. Prabhupada gave an open instruction that he called him Shriman Jayanand Adhikari, that Shriman Jayanand Adhikari's picture should be hung from at the cart of Lord Jagannath for every Rath Yatra in ISKCON. That much. You just imagine how much service he must have done. And like here it is said, he would drive all around San Francisco getting donations and for fruits and flowers or other things. In, I believe it was in New York, he would go, and devotees didn't even know where he would go to get donations. He would go to the fruit market and vegetable market, and that was controlled by mafia in New York. And he had made friendships with mafia bosses to get the donations. And they would give him great, very happily, whatever you want, take whatever vegetables, whatever fruits you want, just take them, flowers for your deities. And after Jayanand Prabhu passed away, actually his passing away is also very glorious. There is a book, Jayanand, I think Jayanand Thakur or something. After he passed away, or he was diagnosed with cancer at the last time, when he was at the last stages. He was like fourth stage cancer. And he was in the hospital. He didn't want to get treatment for cancer. And whatever money he received for his treatment, somehow, whatever government help or whatever, he gave everything to the temple. To Prabhupada. Prabhupada was still alive at that time. And when Jayanand Prabhu passed away, Prabhupada did say he went back to Golok Vrindavan. And after he passed away, devotees, Rath Yatra time in New York, devotees went to all these fruits, sellers, vendors, and so they were led to the mafia bosses who were holding the market. And devotees told him that Jayanand passed away. And that was the dawn. He started to cry. And he didn't know his name was Jayanand. He said, "Oh, Johnny Ananda, he was my best friend." That much he did, so much. I mean, he did amazing amount of service, amazing amount. So this is how Prabhupada motivated. He encouraged devotees to give them their best to the movement. When the devotees asked what else they should do for Rath Yatra, Prabhupada said this was all a procession, prasadam distribution, kirtan. People should get a chance to see Lord Jagannath and chant Hare Krishna. They should be chanting and dancing in front of the cart throughout the procession, but do everything nicely, Prabhupada said. Do it as well as you can, and Lord Jagannath will be satisfied. Of course, in America, and especially the first Rath Yatra, we didn't follow all the rituals of Jagannath Puri, and Prabhupada didn't stress on it either. The next day, in the quiet afternoon, Prabhupada was sitting in the living room, chanting on his beads. Upendra was with him, and Kirtananda was in the kitchen, cooking a feast. Suddenly, Prabhupada heard the familiar ringing of cymbals, and he became very happy, his eyes widening. Looking outside, he saw the Rath Yatra truck with Lord Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balram, and dozens of devotees and hippies eager to see him. He went out to greet them and had them bring the deities inside and set them on top of the upright piano. Lord Jagannath is sitting on piano. Devotees and guests followed, filling the large living room. Smiling, Prabhupada embraced some of the men, while others made obeisances at his feet. Some devotees helped Kirtananda in the kitchen get ready to distribute the large feast he had prepared. Others reported on the success of the Rath Yatra festival. It was great, it was wonderful, it was a beautiful day, they said. And Prabhupada listened, moved by his disciples' description of the celebration. Many hippies had joined the large procession. Mukunda, Haridas, Aigriv, and some of the women had been on the cart, and the instruments, including Yamuna's playing on the harmonium, had all been amplified by the sound system. Everyone in the streets had liked it. The police motor escorts had tried to hurry the devotees, but so many people had crowded in front that the parade had been obliged to go slowly, just as Swamiji had asked. Subal had danced wildly the whole time, and Jayananda had been jumping up and down, playing kartals. From the truck, some of the women had handed out cut oranges, apples, and bananas, and others had thrown flowers. The crowds had loved it. Shyamsundar told how they had been going up a steep hill. Shyamsundar had been driving, and his dog, Ralph, beside him on the front seat when the trucks had stalled. He had tried to start the engine, but couldn't. Then the brakes wouldn't hold. The truck began rolling backward, downhill. Finally, he had managed to stop, but when he had tried to go forward, the engine had stalled, and the truck had rolled backwards again. He would get it started, the truck would go forward, then stall, then roll backwards. Everyone had been in anxiety. At last, the truck had started forward, and the procession had continued all the way to the beach. Srila Prabhupada smiled. It was a pastime of Lord Jagannath, he said. The same thing had happened when Lord Chaitanya had attended Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. Then also the cart had gotten stuck and no one had been able to move it. The king of Odisha had brought forward the most powerful wrestlers to push the cart and pull on the ropes, but it won't go. Even the elephants couldn't move it. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had then put his head against the cart and pushed, and only then did the cart begin to move. Now Rath Yatra had come to the west, and with it this pastime of Lord Jagannath. He just likes to play. This is his favorite festival. Prabhupada noticed some devotees were missing. Where are Yamuna and Janaki? He asked. The devotees told him that some hippies had handed out candy spiked with LSD, and that a few of the devotees had unwittingly accepted it and were just now recovering. Subal related how, after the festival, they had traveled out on the freeway in a flower-bedecked, canopy-covered truck carrying 30 devotees and the deities of Jagannath, Balram, and Subhadra. They had driven up through the mountains in what must have been one of the most unusual vehicles ever seen. After all the visitors departed, the deities remained in the house with Prabhupada and his servants. Prabhupada felt satisfied that his disciples had successfully held a Rath Yatra festival. Although untrained, they were sincere. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and Bhaktivinoda Thakur would have been pleased to see the first American Rath Yatra. So wonderful experience they had. I guess we can stop here. See anybody have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Nice class.
Okay, you all have safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.